Hi, this is Travis Shaw with the Mosby Heritage Area Association, and I'm here at Market Station in Leesburg, just a few hundred yards off of the W&OD trail, picking up where we left off earlier. As I said before, in 1894, the railroad that would become the W&OD was purchased by the Southern Railroad. This marks a huge turning point in the history of the rail line, really marks the beginning of the golden age of what would become the W&OD. During this time in the 1890s, there's a lot of interest in coming out to rural areas like western Loudoun County for recreation, for a summer retreat. You know, the city of Washington is notoriously hot, notoriously muggy in the summertime. So the railroad will capitalize on that and will start bringing excursions from Washington out to towns like Hamilton, Purcellville, Round Hill, where there will be boardwalks, other amusements, summer resorts, guest houses, will kind of spring up in the late 1890s and early 1900s. This is going to become even more vital to the local economy in 1900 when the rail line is finally completed all the way out to Snickersville, which will soon after change its name to Bluemont. And Bluemont will kind of become the crown jewel of the resorts in western Loudoun County. A number of large hotels will be built there. In the early 19th century, or excuse me, early 20th century, 1915, visitors could spend $1 on a train ticket, come all the way out from Washington to Bluemont, and then for another $1 could actually take a 4-hour car excursion through the Blue Ridge Mountains. So this became a big part of the local business in the early 1900s. Around the same time, the railroad would actually become electrified, become one of the first electric trolley services outside of a major urban area. The rail line was electrified all the way from Washington all the way to Bluemont, and this trolley would not only bring passengers out, but it would also bring the mail and would carry freight, particularly dairy from western Loudoun's numerous dairy farms, which was needed within Washington. In 1911, the Washington and Old Dominion Railroad is officially formed. And this kind of marks the high point of this rail line here in Loudoun County. Unfortunately for them, as the 1920s and 1930s rolled around, car traffic became increasingly important. More and more people and goods were being moved by car and truck. And then, of course, the Great Depression hits. So people no longer have that disposable income to spend on a summer excursion to Bluemont. So in 1932, just a few short years after it's chartered, the Washington and Old Dominion Railroad goes bankrupt. In 1936, it will be revived for a short period of time, but it never reaches the heights of popularity that it would see in the early 20th century. There's a brief jump in passenger traffic during World War II as more people came to the area to work in defense jobs during the war. But in 1951, the W&OD officially ended all passenger service. And in 1968, freight service was finally ended as well. And that marked the final demise of the Washington and Old Dominion Railroad. Now, after freight service was shut down, the right-of-way was sold to VEPCO, which is kind of the precursor to Dominion Energy. They used the right-of-way for a power corridor. And then in the late 1970s, VEPCO started negotiating with Nova Parks over right-of-way to what remained of the original rail line. And so beginning in the late 1970s, Nova Parks envisioned the former W&OD as a recreational trail, and that trail really began to take shape in the early 1980s. And by 1988, they had paved the portion all the way out to Purcellville that we know today. Now, as I said before, millions of people use this trail every year. People ride their bikes, people ride horses on portions of it, a lot of pedestrian traffic. So it's a place that's very easy to explore, and as you explore the trail, not only will you be on the original rail trail, but you'll see vestiges of the infrastructure that supported it as well, like this building behind me. This building, which now houses Fireworks Pizza here in Leesburg, was the original rail depot here in the town of Leesburg. It's been moved a few hundred yards from its original location just down the road. You'll also see original rail depots in towns like Purcellville, in Herndon, And along the way you'll see other structures, bridges and things that were built to support the infrastructure of this railroad. So while the weather is beautiful, we encourage you to go out and explore, get out and enjoy the W&OD Trail. And while you're there, try to imagine what it would have been like to see rail traffic and trolleys running up and down the rail line. Thanks for joining me.